Okay, so we were just talking about bioaccumulation and biomagnification and with water pollution, basically. And so I went on and I wrote the definitions up here so that you would have them. Because the words sound almost the same, right? Bioaccumulation versus biomagnification. So what are they? So bioaccumulation is the buildup of toxins in an individual's tissues over the course of its life. Now, biomagnification has to do with who's eating whom, basically. And so this is the buildup of toxins in tissues as it moves up the food chain. The grazers are eaten by the first level predators, which are eaten by higher up predators, who are eaten even by higher up predators. And what happens is with each of those steps, from the grazers to the low level predators to the next and the next level predator, what happens is it magnifies the concentration of the toxin that is present in the tissues of the predator. So the top level predators have the highest concentrations of toxins. That would be your bald eagle. Bald eagles are a top level predator when you think about they're eating pretty good sized fish that are eating small fish that are eating tiny crustaceans and other kinds of mollusk and things like that, worms, whatever. And so it's one step after another, and they build up with a whole lot of toxins in their tissues. Now, the next point I want to make is when we talk about water is this business of we had just said that we had talked about ocean acidification, or we had talked about acidity in water and CO2 levels. If we sort of step back from just this one chapter and we think about stuff we've talked about before, we had said we have rising CO2 levels. Well, what's happening there? That means that the CO2 is dissolving in water, and the water is becoming more acid. And what did we say? This acidity is then dissolving potentially more toxins. So everything is tied together. Okay, so how do we get pure water to drink? No, my bad, not pure water. How do we get safe drinking water? It's not pure, it just doesn't have the stuff in it we don't want to be exposed to. And we have drinking water plants. So you have a plant where you bring in water. I said, where does your water come from? The river, if you're here in Pittsburgh. And so it's not a really pleasant thought. I mean, the rivers aren't that bad, but you certainly don't want to go stick your face in it and drink it. So what do they do? What they do is they pass it through, they filter the water and they treat it with chemicals to remove the bacteria, they don't actually remove all of the bacteria or viruses. They reduce the number. So there is a limit, but they're there. They're still there. There is a safe limit to certain kinds of bacteria that are allowed to be present, and then toxins as well. So they treat the water and make it safe for us to drink. Now, you can go through and they have a whole big plan. You pass water through a sand filter and then treat it with chlorine and so forth to make it safe to drink. There are other things that you can do. Maybe if you have a well, you say, I don't have a water treatment plant. And maybe you got some issue with your water and you said, well, we talked to a consultant and they said, put an ultraviolet light on it. And that is one way. If you have some contaminants in your water that are making it less safe or unsafe to drink, you can treat it with an ultraviolet light and make it safe. Also, you can add ozone to it. And these are two ways that people that have their own little water plant, meaning a well, are able to help make their water safe. Now, so that's for drinking water. And then we had said we have all of this stuff going on, showers, drinking water, food preparation, toilets. And this is the wastewater. And so we don't just dump that stuff out into the river, thank God. We don't just dump it out into the river. It too goes through treatment to remove a lot of the bad stuff. They let the solids settle out, and they treat it so that they reduce the number of bacteria, the microbes that are present in it. Okay, so and what is the real issue? So every city that has a drinking water plant, they say, well, what we're going to do is upstream of the wastewater plant, we're going to put a drinking water plant, right? So they bring in water that isn't downstream from our poopy water, right? Well, what about the next city up? They've done the same thing. So there is unfortunately wastewater that is being brought in, and that's why we need the drinking water purification process. There are other ways to get water. Sometimes you don't have a river or a lake. And so what you can do is if you have an ocean, you can remove the salt. So there's desalination plants. They're kind of expensive. Distillation, that's also osmosis, reverse osmosis. All of these there are techniques to make water safe. Really, the final thing that I want to talk about is, I don't know if you're a camper. If you're a camper, you might say, well, I just have this little thing that I take out there and I put water through it and I can drink it. And what that does is it removes the bacteria. And they make these point-of-use straws where you can literally stick it in the Monongahela and suck out the water that comes through it. It filters out the bacteria. It does not remove the toxins, just so you know. And it does not remove viruses that might be present. But hey, what the heck? If that's what you have to drink, go for it. I think that's it. I think this is all I'm going to talk about with water. We'll have one more set of discussions dealing with plastics. Our world is full of plastic, so we have to cover that before the end of the semester. So this will be the end of the material for exam 4. We'll talk about this stuff on Monday. All right, see you then.